Speedway just joined some elite company. How's everybody doing? I'm Jay Elson, and this is Midco Motorsports. The world of Outlaws generally don't stay in one spot for more than a few days. In fact, there are just 3 exceptions to that rule. Eldora, Knoxville, and most recently, Huset are the only tracks ever to host 4 straight races. Todd Quiring and company got their chance starting with Wednesday's makeup from Memorial Day weekend.
Had to figure fans would flock to Huset for this one, and those who came through the gates Wednesday were certainly entertained. Casey Kane did his best to put on a show in the night's 30-lap main event. The former NASCAR driver got a great jump from the pole and showed the way untested for the first 6 laps. Things got much more interesting from there. Lap 7, Spencer Baston is the first to take a run at him, but the 5 can't quite get the momentum it needs between turns 1 and 2. Kane reestablished control over the next few circuits, but that's when David Gravel starts his surge. Gravel whips around Baston on lap 10 to move into the runner-up position. A few laps later, he's got Kane in his sights now, and the 9 helps him out. Kane gets a little loose coming out of turn 2, which allows Gravel to move into the lead. But he would not stay there long. Just 2 laps later, disaster strikes for the 2 car. Contact with Robbie Price sends Gravel into a tumble in turn 1. He was fine, but his promising run was over. That sent Kane back to the front for the restart, but it was Baston that really took advantage. The 5 quickly gets past Carson Macedo for second, and then starts to zero in on Kane. Lap 25, the battle for the lead ensues. Baston and Kane swap the top spot a couple of times before Baston wins the fight with 4 to go. He'd have to hold off a late run from Macedo, but Spencer Baston holds on to earn his first ever win at Huset Speedway and his second World of Outlaws victory of the season.
Nothing better than capping it off the first night with a win. I'm just really proud of my team and everything they did, kind of shaping into the end of the night. You know, we were fast right out of the gate in qualifying, made the dash, but you know, through the heat race in the dash, I felt like we just needed to find a little something more just to, you know, carry on speed and continue with what we needed to be doing. So we made some really good adjustments there. Barry Jackson, of course, made kind of a game time decision for me, and it obviously worked. So car was really versatile and just really good around the bottom there.
The stakes started to rise for Baston and the rest of the field Thursday on night 1 of the inaugural High Bank Nationals. All eyes locked in the late model street stocks first, though. We pick it up a couple of laps in with the 12 car of Mike Cheney racing Jeff Whitrock for the lead. Cheney clips the wall coming out of turn 4, and it results in one of the scarier wrecks you are ever going to see. Here it is again on the Dirt Vision replay. Cheney thankfully came out of that shaken, but otherwise uninjured. Zach Olivier lost his lid as part of that wreck, but that didn't stop him from becoming a factor when racing resumed. The number 9 starter worked his way into second behind points leader Matt Stewart, but a miscue here as he turns the 3 car in turn 3. Olivier rightfully sent to the back for that, although he still managed to finish second. That was really the best he or anyone else could hope for anyway, because Stewart absolutely dominated from that point forward as he picks up his second win of the season at Huset. On to the big show now, where the first to complete 35 laps would take home $15,000. Everybody a little more anxious when it comes to that kind of cash, and that leads to incidents like this one off the start. Several cars get tangled up on the backstretch, including 3-time defending Outlaw champion Brad Sweet and Danny Schatz. But that was not the story of the night. That belonged to 20-year-old Buddy Kofoid, the reigning USAC National Midget Series champion, trying to wing it with the best of them on Thursday, and he would do exactly that. Lap 4, Kofoid goes to the bottom to take the lead away from Brock Zierfoss. Kofoid kept it up front for the next 15 laps until James McFadden catches him in traffic. The 83 slides by Kofoid to lead lap 20. But the youngster didn't let that rattle him. In fact, he answers right back, and that would be the dagger. Buddy Kofoid officially leads 31 laps to beat the Outlaws for the first time in his career.
It's huge. It's my biggest win of my career, and I think, along with everyone, these are the best guys on dirt. So to say that you've beat them and conquered them is pretty special and satisfying, to say the least.
Points again at a premium Friday, which also saw them up the ante to $20,000 for the win. The story early on was 19-year-old Riley Goodnow, the Knoxville, Iowa native, on the pole for his 7th career start with the Outlaws, and he more than held his own. Goodnow fought off fellow front row starter Brian Brown even through an early restart and ultimately led the first 8 laps. But that's where everyone's momentum would come to a stop. Brad Sweet and Rico Abreu battling for third when the two tangle in turn 3. That sends Sweet for a wild ride. Both guys were okay. In fact, Sweet's crew somehow managed to get him back out in time for the restart. Meanwhile, back at the front, Blackjack capitalizes on the opportunity as he pilots the 21 around Goodnow to lead lap 9. As Brown started to pull away from the pack, the battle for third started to heat up again, this time between Carson Macedo and David Gravel. Those two go back and forth a couple of times, with Macedo finally gaining the edge on the front stretch. But the 41 wasn't done. 10 to go, and Macedo goes high to get by Goodnow for the silver spot. And from there, he started to slowly reel in Brown. He'd catch him with 3 to go. Macedo, the huge slide job to wrestle the lead away from Brown. And that would do it. Carson Macedo leads the final 3 laps en route to his 6th win of 2022. Brown settled for second, while Goodnow collected his first ever podium finish with the Outlaws.
Everybody was so fast around the top and making so much speed up there that it was hard to pull the trigger and get somebody cleared and then put them away. So I was happy that we were able to do that, stay up up towards the front, and then at the end there, just kind of things sort of played out our way. The 22 kind of left the door open for me to be able to get by, and then was able to get back to Brown's back bumper and then pull a trigger. So, just glad to get it done.
Now, of course, all of that was just the setup for the big show. We'll bring you all of the fireworks from Saturday's high-dollar, high-bank finale when Midco Motorsports rolls on.
You're watching Midco Motorsports, presented by Huset. Welcome back to Midco Motorsports, presented by Huset.
And welcome back. Well, as entertaining as the action was to start last week's festivities at Huset Speedway, it was nothing compared to the way it would finish. Finances had a lot to do with that. The $100,000 top prize for Saturday's high bank finale was the single richest payout in South Dakota history.
Fireworks flying high as they got set to unleash the beast late Saturday night. Carson Macedo looking to pick up where he left off Friday, and he makes good use of his #1 starting spot, shooting to the front ahead of David Gravel and Buddy Kofoid. Macedo clearly going for it, keeping the hammer down. He'd drive into heavy traffic by lap 4. No real issue for him, though, as he stuck to the bottom on a narrow track, simply weaving his way around the back markers as needed. But his pace would finally slow with 22 to go as the caution lights come on for Carson McCarroll, who rolled to a stop in turn 1. Macedo managed the ensuing restart and the 2 others that followed pretty well, but his luck was definitely starting to fade at that point. Macedo doing all he can to try and close this thing out, but he'd get lots of company with less than 10 to go. Kofoid and James McFadden all over Macedo now, 3 wide for the lead, and it's McFadden surging to the front with Kofoid taking second. Those two stayed snug, but the guy they didn't see was Sheldon Haudenschild, the 17 in the midst of a tremendous run as they reached the white flag, and watch this. Haudenschild slingshots past both McFadden and Kofoid, and that would do it. Sheldon Haudenschild with an absolutely incredible run to become the first ever champion of the Huset's High Bank Nationals.
What we put the work in for, and end of the day, the money's cool, but Just being able to beat the best guys in the world, that's what it's all about.
Unfortunately, we have some sad news to pass along tonight as well. Danny Schatz, the father of 10-time World of Outlaws champion Danny Schatz, died Monday following a prolonged battle with pancreatic cancer. A statement released by the family read in part, quote, "We would like to thank Danny's medical care teams as well as hospice of the Red River Valley for their care and compassion these past few months. Our family is also especially appreciative of our staff and their families for their support. And we would like to extend a special thank you to our racing family and friends, as they have also been a source of strength and comfort." Danny Schatz was 74 years old. In most sports, competitors generally don't get the chance to directly impact the success of their rivals. Things are different that way in the racing community, where the value of a good builder vastly outweighs some silly superstition. More on that in this week's Driver Spotlight.
In the race game, everyone needs a chassis guy. For a lot of the drivers at Huset Speedway, that guy is Tim Dane.
I do help a lot of the guys, and most of their stuff comes through my shop at one time or another, so it's kind of a balancing act sometimes.
The added wrinkle here is that when Dan isn't in his shop, he's out there running against his customers.
During the week, I mean, everybody gets along, everybody helps everybody out. Once we hit the racetrack, it's, everybody's racing for themselves at that point.
The racing part has actually been a little more fun of late, something Dan attributes to the recent resurgence in the late model street stock class.
With the 2 tracks now running 2 nights in a row, it's definitely helped gain some cars, help some new drivers. The street stock guys, a lot of them have been doing it a long while, and it's nice having some new guys, some young guys. I mean, that's what it takes to get the class to grow, is you're going to have some new guys come along.
Now it's up to him to figure out how to stay in front of them. After a 5th place finish in 2021, Dan is currently 1 spot closer to the top of the table.
We had a good year. I can't complain at all. We got to get a little bit faster to compete with them front couple guys, but I feel like we're a top 5 car most nights. For the most part, everybody's got pretty close to the same equipment. It's just a matter of what you do with it. Just got to stay consistent. Right now we're trying some different stuff with the car, trying to make it better, and you got to always be searching for that little bit extra.
Midco Sports had a little fun at the fair last weekend. Highlights from this year's broadcast of the Greater Grand Forks Fair races are coming up next.
You're watching Midco Motorsports, presented by My Place Hotels.
The smell of funnel cakes and race fuel returned to the Grand Forks County Fairgrounds last week in the form of the now annual Greater Grand Forks Fair races. And while Mother Nature spoiled the fun on Friday, Sunday turned out to be a perfect night at River Cities Speedway.
3 classes took the track in Grand Forks in an event that was televised live right here on Midco Sports. We'll start with the Wissota Street Stocks. Points leader Aaron Blacklance looking the part early on. Quick run to the front from his number 8 starting spot, completing the climb with a topside pass of John Halverson in the 35. Blacklance would never get all that comfortable at the front, though. Heavy pressure from the 27P of Tucker Peterson, and the 5BA would be unable to stand his ground as Peterson muscles past along the bottom. Peterson had some tough luck the week prior when he cut a tire while leading, but no such issue on this night. The East Grand Forks native cruises the rest of the way to earn his 2nd win in 3 starts at RCS.
I'll tell you, last week, that was definitely a sore one. I don't know if I'll ever be able to let that down, but, just being able to get out here and get the win. And I have my grandma's in the hospital too, and, this one's for her. It's just been such a long week for all of us.
Blacklance settled for 2nd there, but there was no time to sulk about it because he got right back out there for the Midwest Modified feature. In that class, the guy he and everyone else has been trying to catch all season is Lance Schill, which has been much easier said than done. Schill had won 3 straight to start the year in Grand Forks, and he would get close again. The driver out of Langdon, North Dakota, climbed 6 spots to move into second, but that's as close as he would get. This one was all Black Lance. He blew everybody away, collecting his first victory of the season by nearly 6 full seconds.
I kind of figured the B mod would be able to hold the speed in 3 and 4 on the top side. A little better in the street. Obviously, that didn't work out for me. But I just tried to keep my tires underneath me and hope we went green to checkered.
That took us to the night's main event, 25 laps for the NLRA late models, and they were well worth the wait. Lance Schill tried to follow Black Lance's lead in his second feature of the night, and he looked well on his way, pacing the field for the first 22 laps. That run came to an end with 3 to go. Thursday's winner, Dustin Strand, slides Schill for the lead, and the 17 ultimately loses its spot on the track altogether. Unfortunately, Schill would be unable to finish. To the restart now, Mike Gracep makes a bit of his own. Big haymaker for the lead here, but Strand throws one right back between turns 3 and 4. The 71 kept her steady from there as Strand drives on for his second consecutive NLRA win.
Until that last yellow, I don't know, I had some front brake in the car to run the bottom, and I rolled in the first corner and it pushed, and oh man, I just threw her away. But yeah, it was pretty sweet. Car was awesome. Had a couple driver hiccups, but it was a fun race. You're always running scared. I mean, there's a heck of a good group of guys that run hard every night, and you got to drive as hard as you can, especially when we got a little brown in the track, and worked out.
In the Dobmeyer house, weekends are for sprint cars, but Wednesdays are all about karts. We'll go karting with Team 13 after this.
You're watching Midco Motorsports, presented by My Place Hotels.
Racing is a family sport. I think we all know that. But as far as how the sport finds you, that part can vary a bit. Midco Sports' Marty Mueller has more in this week's Inside Track, which is presented by My Place Hotels.
Novice class to the staging area. Novice class to the staging area, please.
On Wednesday evenings in Grand Forks, you'll find Forks Karting Speedway alive with the buzz of small engine go-karts.
I mean, you'll hear it every Wednesday night. If anywhere around town, if it's calm out, you'll hear these go-karts running around just like the big race cars, you know.
Situated just east of River Cities Speedway, the karting circuit provides kids 5 and up with an opportunity to be the driver of their own race team. However, racing at a young age was not always so accessible. For some, the passion was ignited differently.
When I was 9 years old, I got a job selling popcorn at the Speedway. And from that day on, I was hooked. I had a hobby car when I was in high school. Then I had a late model for about 5 years, and then I changed up to sprints.
Mike Dobmeyer raced sprint cars in the upper Midwest for 20 years. Along the way, he introduced his son Mark to the sport by way of a go-kart. And just like his dad, Mark could not wait to pounce on any chance to drive with the big boys.
I got elected National Commander of the Disabled American Veterans, so I knew I was going to be doing a lot of traveling. And so that's when I made the deal with Mark that if he got on the honor roll, he could be the sprint car driver.
So I turned into a good student in 1 year, you know. And
Mark has experienced it all over his racing career. From World of Outlaw feature wins to tough seasons and scary injuries. But when it came time to pass on the family sport to his own kids, there was no hesitation.
I mean, racing is, as you grow through it, it's at the end of the day, it's kept me on the straight and narrow my whole life, you know, because it's something I've always had the big desire for. And obviously I was going to create every opportunity I can for my kids to do whatever they want to do, you know. And so if they wanted to go racing, obviously Dad's going to put a cart together for them. So the options there, they both seem to be enjoying it, and just enjoyable to do with a family.
And it's not just the Dobmeyers. Family is everywhere at the racetrack. Kids and kids at heart all come together to form a great atmosphere.
The karting out here is it's an absolute great family sport. As you look around the pit area, you'll see it's pretty much any kid that's racing. There's a whole family there. The mom, the sisters, the brothers, everybody's there getting into it and helping out or sitting up in the stands or whatever their case may be. There's several different roles out here.
And you'll see, not only do they help their own family out, if somebody else has trouble, everybody pitches in and gets them going again.
If family is the name of the game, competition is a close second. Just ask Mark's oldest son, Jackson.
So what's your favorite part about coming to the racetrack?
Winning.
You'd be surprised. It's actually pretty stiff competition out here. Everyone has fun, but everyone takes it very serious at the same time. So it's really fun. It's really challenging at the same time. So it's very competitive.
Well, it's really good because the association has separate rules and separate classes for each age group of kids. So they start out maybe not knowing anything, and by the time they work their way through it, then they're pretty good racers.
It's a great stepping stone to the big racetrack over there. You know, that's my biggest advice. If you're ever serious about getting out there, the best thing to do is get in a go-kart first, turn some laps, get used to it, get that competitive edge, that competitive feel, the taste for it, and then if you decide this is for you, this can be your spot your whole life too.
That is one busy racing family. If you have the itch to turn a few laps at a go-kart, the Forks Karting Association invites you out to the track on Wednesday nights. Mark says once league racing is finished for the evening, people of all ages are welcome to jump in and take a spin. All right, that is going to do it for us. For Marty Mueller and our producer Levi Vanderwhite, I'm Jay Elson. No show next week, but we'll see you back here Wednesday, July 13th for another episode of Midco Motorsports.